live from the Counterpunch Media mobile studios in Grand Blanc, Michigan. It's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 29 of Derek Noel Fitness Live. We're almost at 30. It's been a long time. We're working on these. We're still pumping them out. I'm having a blast doing it. The topic this week is actually how to meal prep like a pro. But first, before we get into that, if you could give this a share on your Facebook or a little like, comment, let me know that you're watching. I would love to be able to see that you are. I'm going to enjoy talking about this topic, and I really feel like, kind of like the last episode I did 2 weeks ago, where I talked about how to build a training program for yourself, your very first strength program, that were pretty good. Also, before we get started, I do want to re-announce that we are now actually taking live phone calls for the show as well. And you can find this phone number on the screen that's up right now. Or if you're just listening, it is 810-412-5999. Again, that's 810-412-5999. If you have anything you'd like to add or any questions for me, feel free to call that. Or if you don't feel like being on the air, because, by the way, your voice will be on the air, you could drop your questions in a comment, and I will make sure that I see it. I have my wonderful millennial device here to be able to see what's going on. So, if we have been paying attention, we kind of figured out how to build a basic nutrition program. We've also gone about how to build your first strength program. Combining those together is going to be a really, really good tool. But there comes a certain point where, cooking food becomes a real big drag. You've made the commitment. You want to be successful with your nutrition journey. You just don't have 4 or 5 hours to spend cooking food, preparing food on a Sunday or a Saturday or a Monday or whatever. So you have family things going on. It just isn't happening. Well, this is where my other experience, not as a personal trainer or nutrition coach, comes into play. This is where my previous experience in the culinary world comes into play. If you did not know, I actually have my bachelor's degree in culinary management. I spent 4 years in culinary school learning the business part of it as well as the cooking part. So I'm a classically trained chef as well. And that really comes into play when I start talking about meal prep, which there are quite a few things you can do that a lot of people don't realize that are going to be really helpful. So this is going to be a show filled with tips and tricks for how to meal prep like a professional chef or a professional person who meals preps, who really feels like they can crush it every week. Maybe you already do these things. Maybe you already have your meal prep down just naturally and you haven't even thought about some of these things. But hopefully this brings a lot of value to you. And I know we started a little bit late today, but I do appreciate you tuning in. If you could jump over to our YouTube channel, trying to grow that right now, give our Counterpunch Media YouTube channel a subscribe. That would really help out. You can also watch this there. You can watch this on ipmnation.com/DNF. Or if you're listening on IPM Nation right now, that is ipmnation.com/counterpunch for our main page with all of our other shows on there. We do have quite a bit of other things, other awesome content on there. Another little bonus is I'm going to start releasing more long-form content during the week as well. So, for example, I also have basically an article to go along with this episode. So I'm going to be going a little bit in depth in the episode. If you ever need any reminders, having that post written, I will put it out there probably in a couple days. I'm still trying to figure out what day I'm going to be releasing weekly blog posts with, but this is going to go hand in hand with that post, which I think is going to be really cool. And I think it'll be a lot better because if you ever have any questions, maybe I answer it in the article, or since I haven't finalized it yet, if someone brings something up, I can definitely add it there. So let's get into this whole how to meal prep like a pro. You are at it, or you maybe have no idea how to start. You haven't even touched a stove in years, if ever. I get it. Again, I've been there. In my previous life, I was a chef. I moved up into an executive chef, and in order to be successful, in that industry, we had to do a lot of things, which honestly carry over quite well into whole meal prep. Because if you think about it, all a restaurant is how to effectively meal prep things so that we can make something really quickly. If you ever get frustrated for it taking 45 minutes to an hour to get a dish, with rare exceptions, it's because they didn't have the things prepared. They have to do it basically on the fly or right at once. So I'm here right now to tell you that doesn't have to happen, and this is how the pros do it. Are we ready? I hope so, because I'm going to start anyways. So tip number 1 has nothing to do with actually being in the kitchen. I'm going to say that again. Tip number 1 has nothing to do with actually being in the kitchen. It all has to do with preparing ahead of time. And that is build a menu. But Derek, why would I build a menu? I'm not feeding anyone besides myself. All I need to do is know how to cook things fast, right? Wrong. A lot of people don't have a problem cooking things quickly. It's a matter of they try and do too many things, or they're scatterbrained and they go, ooh, shiny. My first tip is to make a menu. Having this menu is exactly like it is in a restaurant. You're going to give yourself some options. I would say no more than 2 or 3. Even if it's a small menu, you're good to go. So what goes on this menu? Basically what you're having during the week. So I know this is a really big sticking point for a lot of people with meal prep, is they don't want to eat the same thing every single day. And I get it. There are a few foods that I can do that with. Like I could eat chili probably every day. There are a couple other things. I'm not really going to digress too far into that. But when we're trying to figure out our menu, let's actually build one right now. So whenever we're building a menu, we want a couple options. We don't want to eat the same thing every day. Unless you do, then you are simple and you can just pick 1 or 2 things and you're good to go. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start out by picking what proteins we want during the week. If you're a vegetarian, this may not apply to you because basically all of your protein sources are also going to be sources of carbohydrates and fats as well. So you can kind of choose like tempeh and stuff like that to help do that. But for the most part, if you're a pescatarian, vegetarian, you're also golden. You could just pick a few different types of fish. But let's say I'm thinking on the fly, I'm going to have flank steak because I'm in a steak mood and I love flank steak and it's really lean protein. I'm going to choose some chicken because it's classic. And then I'm going to go with a seafood too, something a little bit lighter. I'm going to go with shrimp this week. So for my menu for this week, I'm going to have flank steak, I'm going to have chicken, I'm going to have shrimp. Let's say I'm going to have those 3 options, and then during the week, I'll get to choose those. All right, well, cool. There's the proteins. I also don't want to eat rice every single day. Rice is going to be one of my options, but I'm also going to choose my other carbohydrates. I'm going to go with a pasta, and I'm going to go with a sweet potato. So I have flank steak, chicken, and shrimp for my proteins. I have pasta, sweet potatoes, and rice. In this case, I'm going to go with jasmine rice, white rice, brown rice. Honestly, just pick something, and you'll be good to go there. And then I'm going to choose a couple vegetables to eat with those things. I like broccoli. I like Brussels sprouts. Green beans are another good one. Basically, just pick a couple of vegetables that you like. If you only like one, then that's basically what you're going to be having. Just remember, you don't have to eat vegetables at every meal. They just help you feel a lot fuller. So if you are in a calorie deficit and you're trying to lose body weight, you're going to be wanting to eat more vegetables because they're going to fill you up and they don't really have that many calories. And also on that note, if you're going for weight loss, remember that even if you don't count calories, calories still count. They're still there whether you want them to be or not. So make sure you do have some sort of idea how much you're actually eating. I'm not saying you have to track every day, but neither here nor there. So we have these things. We also want to make sure we get some fats, which I'll talk about in a second, because honestly, you could cook with fats or you can finish a dish with fats and you're good to go. So we have this menu. We're going to choose some flavors that don't really add a ton of calories. So flank steak, I'm going to go with the teriyaki marinated flank steak. Teriyaki has a little bit of sugar in it, and it's a little bit higher in salt, but soy sauce and stuff like that. For the most part, we're doing pretty good. I'm going to have that flank steak. I think I'm going to go with a nice pasta, and I'm going to pair the broccoli with that. So that'll be my first meal. The nice thing is I have those things already set. The second one I'm going to do is an Apache style chicken, which is basically a a chili paste crusted chicken, which you can either grill or broil or bake. It's delicious. And I'm going to put a sweet potato, which is going to pair sweet and spicy. I love that combo. And, you know, I'll throw some Brussels sprouts with that because why not? I like Brussels sprouts too. Then I'm just going to be simple. I'm going to grill my shrimp, and I'll have that with rice and avocado. That way I'm good. I threw in an avocado, by the way, because I do want to pair some fats. So the avocado with my shrimp and rice is going to be a source of fat. It's got a little bit of carbs. It's got some fiber in it, but it's really primarily a fat source. With those sweet potatoes, actually with the pasta, I think I'm going to just put some nice, I'm a big fan of the Kerrygold butter, but putting a little bit of butter with the pasta, boom, there's some nice fats there. Apache style chicken with some sweet potato and Brussels. Again, if you want to put a little bit of butter on there, that's cool. Butter on Brussels sprouts is good. Or if you want to do like a Brussels sprout salad instead, that would also be really good. And then you can do like a balsamic vinaigrette, and that vinaigrette is going to act as a fat source for that. So the nice thing is we have these three things. Now, I am not going to store those things all in one container. What I really like to do personally is I'll keep everything in big containers. That way I can mix and match what I want. So say I want my flank steak, but you know, I'm kind of pasted out, said no one ever. But for the sake of this, I'm going to put a sweet potato with my flank steak one day, and I'm going to have some Brussels sprouts with it. So I'm just going to flip-flop. I have them in the container. It's really easy for me to just grab that and be good to go. I'm weighing my foods because I like to pay attention to it, and it's second nature to me. Maybe weighing your food isn't necessarily a step that you jump into right away. It's really a time-consuming process to do it until you actually start doing it, then you can just knock it out. Like I literally just default to putting a plate on my scale, and then I just load it until I hit the numbers that I want, which I already have planned out because I planned my menu, and I'm good to go. So how do we actually use this menu now that we have it written? Well, this is going to be really cool. We have this menu written, so we know what we want to eat, which means that we are already planning what we're cooking, which means we can also use this menu to build our grocery shopping list. So not only is this going to save you time in the long run because you're not trying to figure out what you're making as you're doing it, but you're also probably going to save yourself some money because you're not going to be wandering around aimlessly at the grocery store trying to figure out things as you go. Maybe you'll see something you go, oh, I'm going to put that in with this. But for the most part, you're going to be able to build a grocery list, get into the store, buy the stuff that you want, and get out before you end up with like 7 packages of peppermint bark Oreos and a couple packs of Chips Ahoy. Just saying. So that way you can get in, get out, save yourself some money, and there we go. So tip number 1 is build your menu. It's going to be a really good idea. You can figure out what you want, and you can build your grocery shopping list around it and save you time in the grocery shopping aspect of it as well. And it's going to give you a vision for what everything's going to be at the end. And when you have that vision, it's a lot easier to get there. So what's tip number 2, Derek? You've been talking about not cooking related stuff a lot. Well, sorry to burst your bubble. Number 2 is still not something going on in the actual kitchen. Does it involve things going on in the kitchen? Yes, but you're not actually cooking just yet. You're going to write a timeline. Now let me explain that. Time management is the biggest factor in whether or not you can get food quickly in a restaurant. It is also going to be the biggest factor on how quickly you can actually cook your food and get things done. So time management is going to be key. A lot of people have very, very, very poor time management skills when it comes to the kitchen, just because they're not entirely sure how they should structure things. Now, if you go back to what I said before in restaurants, we need to figure out how we can make something. So if you ever walk into a restaurant, ideally, everything is coming to the pass. So everything is coming onto that plate at the exact same time. So everything is hot, everything is fresh, and it gets shipped off to you sitting at the table. That is the perfect kitchen experience. Is you order your food, it comes in, everything is put on the plate, and you're good to go. Now, all of those things aren't already pre-cooked. So if you're one of those people who goes into the restaurant and expects your food in 5 minutes, probably not the case, especially if you're getting a grilled item. But that doesn't mean that we can't apply those same concepts to our own kitchen, which is going to be really cool. So this is what we're going to do. We have our menu. Now we're going to figure out what is actually our timeline looking like. How much time do we have? What are we going to be doing? Or how much time is this going to take? So I want you to, if you're actually taking notes right now and you actually really like this idea and you already made a menu for the next week, which it is Sunday night, so if your meal prep's coming up, maybe it's a good idea to start implementing these now. By the way, spoilers, it is a really good idea to start implementing these things now. We're going to be focusing on time management, so we need that timeline. We're going to get out a sheet of paper, and we're going to start just listing things off. So, for example, we want to start cooking whatever's going to take the longest first. So if we're baking something, if we're doing a baked dish that's 30, 40 minutes in the oven, we want to get that in the oven first. So while that is baking for 30 or 40 minutes, we can start to boil our pasta, for example, or boil the water for our broccoli, or we can start to get that flank steak on the grill, or all of our proteins on the grill. Honestly, all three things that I chose, you can actually grill or broil or bake. You can do any of the three. But see, it doesn't really matter. So we are going to, so let's see, I said pasta, sweet potatoes, jasmine rice. I really don't feel like throwing a sweet potato in a microwave, so I'm going to be roasting my sweet potatoes. That's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour probably. So, and again, if this is your first time ever doing this, there's going to be some errors. That's okay. We're just going to learn from it and apply it the next time. And that way, we're going to start to refine this. So our sweet potatoes are going to be in the oven next. So while my sweet potatoes are in the oven, I'm literally writing down sweet potatoes in oven, 40 minutes. What are we doing in those other 40 minutes? We're not just going to be sitting around, right? So we're going to get all of our meats onto the grill or the broiler or the stovetop, cast iron skillet, whatever you're cooking it on. We're going to get those proteins cooking. Once we are there, we got to figure out what else is going on. Let's say pastas are going to be boiling. Cool. Let's get our we're going to get our pastas in, our rice is going, and we got a couple pots. We're good to go. We have one left. Most people have a four top burner. We're going to get some water boiling. We're going to get our vegetables going. Vegetables take the least amount of time to cook. So all of a sudden, we're starting to refine this, right? So while we're doing all of this while the sweet potatoes are baking, before I go into this a little bit farther, we are going to take a quick break.
That's up to you. You're listening to Derek Noel Fitness here on IPMNation.com/counterpunch. He'll bring the smarts. Now the sweat? Well, that's up to you. You're listening.
We are back. So we're talking about writing down all of the things on our timelines. We're trying to figure out how long it's going to take to cook everything, and we're trying to fit everything else in. See, this is a little bit more involved. We're starting to plan out the exact motions that we're going to go in the kitchen. That way, when we have all of this written down, we can just set it there and we know what we're going to next. So you can use it as a reference. That way you don't have to remember and then go, oh crap, I forgot, and then having to rush other things. So it's going to be a lot more calm kitchen. You might be doing a lot of things at once, or you might realize that you can do more things at once, but then you're going to go. Now, my last tip with this timeline is if you notice any 4 or 5 minute gaps or even 2 3 minute gaps in there, you don't just want to be standing around. So why not clean as you go? You're going to start to do the dishes in the downtime you have in between things cooking. And this is going to save you a lot of back end time because 4 or 5 minutes, every little block of cooking time is going to save you probably an hour and a half of cleanup at the end, which honestly is the worst part. You spend all this time cooking, now you have to spend another hour and a half cleaning everything that you used. So we want to make sure that we are cleaning as we go. So, real quick, we haven't even touched the kitchen yet. We have a menu built. We have a grocery shopping list made from that menu. We know exactly everything that we're going to be getting. And now we have a timeline written for what we're going to do. And remember, if the timeline's not perfect, that's okay. Some planning is definitely better than no planning. And the timeline will help you out, especially once you realize how long it takes to cook things. And if you have no idea how long it takes to cook things, you can use a timer to start figuring it out. Or honestly, online is a really, really good tool as well. So, Derek's been talking for, I just referred to myself in the third person. I've been talking for about 10 to 15 minutes now. Yep, about that much time without even touching kitchen stuff. We're trying to figure out our plan for when we go into the kitchen. Honestly, when you get this down, building the menu, writing the timeline is going to take 5 to 10 minutes. It's not going to take you very long, and you'll be able to do it a little bit less. And then as you get used to it, and as you get better and better at everything, then you're going to be able to probably eliminate the timeline and just go. But again, it's always nice to have everything planned out so that way you're not forgetting anything. And that brings me to my third one. It's a French term called mise en place. It is the most important thing in the restaurant business, in the back of house, or in the kitchen, I should say, is this concept called mise en place. It's a French term, and it means everything in place. If you go into a kitchen, you're going to see everything prepped out. All of the things are diced. Everything is diced. Everything is peeled. Everything, all the meats, all of your steaks are already cut to size. The herbs and seasonings are already mixed together for what they need. Butters are already prepared. Sauces are already ready to go. Everything is set and ready to go so that when your order comes in, they could just grab everything they need, throw it in the pan, and start. So the onions are diced, the tomatoes are peeled and diced, or they're sliced, or whatever. The veggies are already ready to go. The spinach is already picked over, the stems removed, all of this good stuff. That, again, applies because we don't want to spend all this time in between. So when we're making our timeline, before we even start cooking anything, we want to make sure that everything is getting diced, everything is getting sliced, everything is getting peeled. All of these things are prepared for when we are actually cooking. So if you're making a little bit of a sauce for your pasta, so if you're making that if you're making a nice fresh marinara sauce with your own tomatoes, you want to make sure they're diced because you don't want to be doing those on the fly. You don't want to be doing those as you're actually cooking. So what is mise en place? It's making sure everything is ready to go. All your pans are put where they're going to be. So you already have everything labeled, ready to go. So you know, like pot one is for boiling water. Pot 2 is for my marinara sauce, for the pasta, whatever I'm doing. Pan 3 is for sauteing my vegetables after I'm done cooking them, or after I'm done blanching them, whatnot. Everything's ready to go. You have all your knives out that you're going to need. You have the cutting boards you're going to need. You have all the containers that you're going to be putting your veggies in. Then once you get there, you have all of the veggies diced. All of these things are ready to go. Your chicken is trimmed down, whatever it needs to do. If you have some of those giant chicken breasts, they're already cut in half and ready to go, so they don't take nearly as long to cook. Because, by the way, if you ever go to a regular grocery store and you see those giant chicken breasts, they're probably 11 or 12 ounces, and you really top end needs like half of one of those. So it's a really good idea to just cut them right in half. Make sure your finger's out of the way, just take that knife and basically trim nice straight line, and you'll be able to split that in half. And all of a sudden you have a 5.5, 6 ounce piece of chicken. And even then you might be trimming that down, and then you might be able to cut it in half afterwards because, balance. So figuring out what you need. Again, that's why we have the menu. That's why you have the timeline. Boom, done. So why bother doing this? Well, because when you're actually cooking, the worst thing ever is when you have to scramble because you forgot to dice something. So say you have a pan on, you have the oil hot, and you realize, and you need to slice the onions that you're going to put in there, and then you need to mince the garlic if you don't have one of the garlic presses. So you have to waste time doing that, and by the time you're doing that, oh no, my onion's burnt because I took too long to do the garlic. Having everything in place prevents those things from happening. Then you can go, oh, all right, my oil's hot, boom, here's my onions. Oh, my onions are starting to look translucent. They're starting to sweat a little bit. By the way, that just means that they're translucent. Or my onions are starting to caramelize a little bit past that point. All right, I'm going to throw my garlic in now. Boom. So then you have this plan, and you're not rushing to get anything done. That is going to save you so much time, everybody. Make sure you follow that concept of mise en place. If you need more help with it, please reach out. Please shoot a message to me. I can help you out. Again, I'm pretty well versed in things like this. Or honestly, you can go online and figure out different things. But basically, just get that done. So that's tip number 3. And I know we started the show a little bit late. I have no idea where I'm at actually time-wise, so I'm just going to keep rolling. So we have gone through. We have a few pro tips right now, and 2 of them don't even have to do with being in the kitchen. We are building a menu. We are writing down what goes on it. We know why we're making a menu, and we know how to use it. So we made our grocery shopping list. We're going to keep that menu on hand when we're actually cooking so that we can just have that constant reminder. We also have this timeline because time management is so essential. We're going to write it down. we're gonna write it out, we're gonna break it down, we're gonna make sure that everything flows, and if it's not flowing, then we need to figure something out. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is in this timeline, if you realize that you have everything going into the oven and you're gonna be running out of oven space, we might need to change our cooking methods. So maybe we have something going on the grill, maybe we have something roasting, maybe we have something on the stovetop, and if not, then we need to start planning around what can we, are we going to have to do a second batch in the oven? Are we going to have to do a second batch on the stovetop? And it's really going to help things out. So you're going to have a nice balanced menu. Not everything is going to be baked. Maybe you have something broiled, or honestly, those cast iron grill skillet things, or the cast iron grill mark things are awesome. I don't even know what they're called. The grill tops, it's basically like the flat top, but it's ridges. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And we're going to make sure that we have time to clean as we go so that we're not spending an hour and a half doing dishes at the end and just hating our life. Even with these two, you're going to be saving yourself a ton of time in the actual kitchen. And a lot of people don't realize that if you spend a little bit of preparation time before you even get started cooking, you're going to be saving yourselves a lot of time. And that is what this is all about. Then once we actually get into the kitchen, we're going to remember mise en place. Everything is in place. So we're going to make sure before we even start actually cooking anything with heat, we're getting everything diced up. We're getting everything peeled and trimmed down and everything like that, so that when we start cooking, we're not stressed out and everything can, again, just flow very smoothly. In case you haven't noticed, everything is flowing nicely into the next thing. With these 3 tips alone, I guarantee you, you're going to start saving a ton of time when it comes to meal prep. If you have any extra ideas for things that'll help people, drop them in the comments below. After we're done cooking, by the way, we want to make sure that we already have all of our containers that we're going to be using lined up. That's also part of the mise en place, so that way we can just get things into the containers and we're good to go. Or if you are individually packing things, you're getting everything individually sorted as soon as you're done cooking them. That way you don't have to worry about portioning everything out later. You could just get it in and get it done. So those are my 3 tips, my 3 big tips to start meal prepping like a professional chef. If you implement these, I want to know about it. Please drop them in the line below. Remember, you can always find me on Instagram at @TheDerekNoel. You can find me here on Facebook at facebook.com/TheDerekNoel. Or you can also visit my website at DerekNoelFitness.com. You can listen on IPM Nation at IPMNation.com/Counterpunch, or watch at /DNF, IPMNation.com/DNF. I'm going through everything today because I feel like it's been a hot minute. You can find our YouTube channel by searching Counterpunch Media, or you can click on the link that I posted on our post earlier, which I will repost as soon as I am done here. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to shoot me a message. If you'd like to work with me, you can also shoot me a message that way, and I'll make sure to get back to you. I would love to be able to help you out. This has been another episode of Derek Noel Fitness Live. I cannot wait to hear about all of your success stories in the kitchen. Have a great night, everybody.